Now that my, button checker is back, things are going to be okay.
Yes.
We're dividing polynomials today, because what did we do yesterday? We multiplied them, right? So it's only natural that we talk about dividing polynomials. And we're going to start off nice and slow. You guys are going to love this. Let's start off talking about dividing a monomial by a monomial. Is that cool? And it's pretty simple to do this division because all you have to do is simplify the fraction. You simplify or reduce, whatever word works best for you. That's all we're doing. So for example, if I ask you to simplify the following. 56x to the 5th, y to the 12th, over 49 x to the 9th, y to the 20th. All we have to do is look at this as a fraction, because I mean that's all it is. It's a single fraction, one term on the top, one term on the bottom. So simplify this. And if I just had this, if I had 56 over 49, could you reduce that?
Yeah.
By a common factor of 7, so you would have what?
8 over 7. And then the denominator would be x to the 4th.
Right, so what you're saying now, you say x to the 4th, and you're looking at this piece right here. Looking at the rest of the factors, I have all of my x's will be left in the denominator. I have how many more?
X.
4 more in the denominator. What about your y's?
Y to the 8th.
Y to the 8th, which is also in the denominator. Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, how bad was that?
So basically you do like everything separate?
Well, this is all connected through multiplication, right? So it's already factored basically for you, so you just have to break down each piece as you go along. See, if there were addition and subtraction thrown in here, it makes things a little bit more difficult. We'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Really the only thing different that's added into this is the reducing the numbers.
Reducing the numbers? Well, no.
Just with the
Because
division
think
formula.
about what you had on your first test. You might have had a fraction that looked like this, and you had to simplify your answer, right? You know how to simplify fractions. You know how to simplify these guys.
Yeah.
And so now it's as though I've got a coefficient here, and a coefficient there. Okay, fine, you're right. Does it make you feel better?
Sure.
Of course, I could be saying you're right to anybody, not necessarily to you, so when you go back and watch the video, you don't know who I'm talking to. All right, 120, a to the 7th, b to the 4th, c to the 10th, all over 80, a to the 4th, b to the 10th, times c. Do it just like the last one. Reduce those coefficients because we can. How would you reduce those guys? Well, first you could reduce them by a factor of 10 by crossing out the zeros, right? And then 12 and 8 have a common factor of 4. So what do I have?
3 over 2.
Right, the greatest common factor for 120 and 80 would be 40. But if I did it by 10 and then by 4, which is going to be the same thing as reducing by 40. So now I have 3 over 2. What about your a's? Where do you have more of them?
On top.
Yeah, up top, right? Never mind, forget it. That's a to the 3rd. What about your b's?
On the bottom.
Down low, right? I'm too slow. Oh, burn. And it's recorded. What about your c's?
On top.
How many more c's do you have on the top? 9. Don't forget, if it helps you out, write a 1 down there. Okay. What do you guys think about that? Not cool?
It's easy.
That's not too bad. Well, let's make things just a little bit more challenging. And let's look at having a polynomial divided by a monomial. Now, if you're doing a polynomial divided by a monomial, all you need to do is to separate into smaller fractions, and reduce. Now, you've actually done this before. I mean, we weren't really talking about polynomials and exponents and all the jazz at the time, but you had a problem on your test that looked very much like this. At one step of the problem, you had this. Negative 2y equals negative 4x plus 10. And what was the step that we took to get y by itself?
Divide by -2.
You divided by negative 2, right? Now, we could have divided that whole side by negative 2, right? But I think we oftentimes found it easier to separate and say negative 4x over negative 2 plus 10 over negative 2. That way I could reduce each of those guys individually, right? So what does this give me?
Y equals 2x minus 5.
Right, that was just 2x minus 5. That was, if I go down here and I finish solving this, right? But what I did here is something we did a couple of chapters ago, and so it still holds true now. Make smaller fractions so you can reduce them. You guys with me on that? Now, let's see what happens when we make things a little bit more complicated than this.
So that's the answer. Y equals, that's it.
Yeah, well, 2x minus 5, right.